Hello and welcome everyone to the week 15 devlog for Gatecrashers. We have a lot to cover. This is the final devlog of the year, and I managed to implement a fair bit more. A lot of visual stuff, but also got a lot of design stuff done as well. So let's get into it. So the first of these is the lovely title screen that you saw at the start. There'll be a couple additions to that. There'll be a bit of an intro sequence leading up to the title screen, such that the Gatecrashers title shows up exactly when the song sort of kicks into high gear. And then I'm pretty big on the title screen continuing directly into the main game. So what will probably happen is that we'll have a sprite for the Hollow Station, right? And then once you hit start, right, you'll sort of zoom in on that and start the player off that way. So yeah, there'll be a couple more animations to this as well. An important thing I realize is the need to keep it to just 8 colors. Alright, so next up we have the restoration of save and load functions. These were always available, however I deliberately obfuscated them in order for playtesters to not run into any shenanigans when loading or saving. And my intuition on this was correct because it turns out that none of the shop variables were saving themselves across sessions. So for a given play session, they were initializing themselves. But when you loaded them back in and you went and interacted with the shop, right, it would be empty. So all of these have been saved, right, to one of the game variables that is serializing whenever you save and load. This will probably need to happen again because we're using the default RPG Maker saves, and that's maybe not the best. So we'll probably end up using like YB save core or something going forward. So as you may have seen, there have been significant changes to the main menu. This was in order to increase the amount of vertical space for the menu map, but also we were just having a lot more options and category filters that many of the scenes needed. And so I thought, okay, let's compromise and let's do sort of a single like top bar kind of a thing. And a number of the scenes have been remodeled in order to fit that. A big change has also been the inclusion of a sort of a summary scene for your actor status, as well as ordering the equip slots for the actors, both of which I think have been positive additions. Alright, next up we have 2 inclusions that have been needed on the map. One is a wait button, which is currently bound to C on the keyboard, which makes it such that you wait 1 turn on the map. This is useful for when FOEs are patrolling around and you don't want to step near them in order to aggro them, in order to sort of weave through their patrol pattern if you want to avoid them. FOEs still don't respect walls, so we'll have to work on that. But at the very least, players can be a little bit more careful now. And more of these time-based interactions on the map will be included as we go. A good addition has been that when you escape from FOEs, they no longer vanish as though they're resolved. Rather, they move to a stun state, and gives you about 3 turns to get away from them, and depending on your distance from them, they will either resume the chase or they will retreat to their previous patrol pattern. There is an escape mechanic I would like to try out, where your initial escape percentage is determined by the sort of degrees of freedom your player has on the map relative to environmental factors, such as if you're out in the open and you go into an encounter, you start with a very high chance of being able to run away. But if you're in a hallway and you run into an encounter, well, it's lower, right? Because you can't escape laterally, right? You can only escape at the end. And importantly, if you're completely surrounded, you cannot escape. And so if you want some of those Etrian Odyssey style interactions where during a fight an FOE can jump in, which is a sort of stretch goal, right, for this game, then it will be important to have that kind of escape system. I see. Okay, next let's talk about 3D models. So I took the Blender this past week, and I have made a couple models for the elevator, which now you can see is used to move between floors, and the terminal, which you can access. With the goal of the terminal sort of being the basis of a model that I can kind of remodel into creating the models for the med station, the op station, the recombinator, that kind of thing. With that came a lot of little complications, such as sort of getting Blender to recognize like something with multiple animations, right? Rather than the chest, which just has a one open animation. The elevators need to open and close, and getting it to recognize that led on a whole friggin' odyssey. But so Blender was able to recognize that, but the exported file, right? The file format that we're using, right, can support that. It just needs it to be assembled on the non-linear like animation timeline, right? Which is a thing that I learned, which was very cool. Now, I got more of an issue from the terminal one, because it turns out that the file format that we have to export it into currently, the GLB or for a format, doesn't like shader operations. So I was trying to do a thing where there would be like a fade in from one texture to another on the terminal as it goes from on and off, and turns out it doesn't quite like that. So right now we're having to use a more expensive operation, which is just reloading a different model, which is bad, right? Like that's gonna kill frame rate, right? So I have to figure out a way to do texture swapping, which I know is possible, for the same model, right? So that we can reuse that model in a bunch of different contexts. Now let's talk about Floor 1B. So Floor 1B has been mostly implemented. The general layout, I think I'm more or less happy with. There will be some changes as we're trying to achieve a more naturalistic maze-like structure. A little bit hard to do with square tiles, but you know, we can work our magic a little bit. And a number of enemies have also been implemented that are unique to this area. So I think the main things that are left for Floor 1B are the inclusion of new items. This is where heavy weapons, for instance, get introduced, as well as I want to introduce one sort of secret item called the Power Glove, which allows for a character to be to sort of use their unarmed strikes in a fun scaling way. And this kind of weapon you can't make multiples of, so it's sort of a unique. You can't sell it either, so there's no way to lose the weapon once you have it. But yeah, so this area, this sort of botanical area, the idea is that it's sort of a hedge maze. It's kind of overgrown kind of plants, and you're having to navigate it in order to make it to the elevator on the other side in order to get to the second floor. Now, the initial area is this sort of this is the more mazy area. We want the player to be using accents here in order to get a wider field of vision. And so the first sort of path is taking you to either deeper in the maze or towards the gap between that initial area that you were in Floor 1 and this one. And once you get near the gap, you'll notice that, hey, is there maybe like a way back? And sure enough, you will be able to find one of the sort of dots on the side, which will lead you back to where the med station is for this area. So the med station is a little bit of a ways away, and the goal of the enemies in this area is to be taxing, not to be hard, but to be taxing. And the reason for this is that we want to starve the player of resources a little bit, so that they get kind of desperate to get to a med station. And so that'll either lead them towards the discovery that they make here, sort of across the gap, or it essentially sets me up to bait them when they go into the second section of floor 1B. So the second section of floor 1B is a trap. So we have the player open up this doorway and then funnel them into an area, and we put a med station directly across, sort of attracting their attention. Once they go past the threshold, the door shuts behind them and an FOE is chasing after them. These are Jägerhunds, right? So these are these sort of like kind of alien, like demo dog kind of monsters. And they are the ones patrolling this area. Once they aggro onto you, they will chase you sort of to the end of the earth. There are ways around them, for which you'll have to be looking around the environment a little bit. But directly engaging them in combat is risky even for you at this point. You can defeat one of them. However, the fight is set up such that when you're fighting one, it'll attract the other one. The Jägerhunds have sort of an ability where they can go into stealth at the end of each turn, which means that sort of your first hit, right, for any attack is nullified against them. Jägerhunds are also very fast, right? So they will usually be the ones going first on their turn. So there's definitely ways sort of around them, right? But they're sort of like a hard FOE to deal with right now. Maybe once you kind of get past them, go into floor 2 a little bit, you'll find a better solution. But yeah, if you stay too long in a fight against one of the Jägerhunds, right, it'll attract the other one, and that'll definitely put you in a position to need to run away, which is the goal here, right? Now, attracting the other Jägerhund doesn't put the other FOE next to you. It probably should. That's a map level interaction that I'll need to figure out how to do. But yeah, once you're able to sort of run away from them, you will eventually find your way to the elevator on the other side. But yeah, this is meant to be where the first area was maze-like. This area has these like long corridors by contrast, where you're getting chased down, right, by the main threat. Where again, any battles that you run into are taxing, and could potentially put you in danger against a Jägerhund jumping into the fight. So yeah, that's the general sort of kind of arc of gameplay of Floor 1B. And I think that's been pretty well captured by the enemies that we have going on here. Alright, as we're wrapping up, let's talk about what are the plans for next year. So we're 15 weeks into this. I think in terms of demo content, we only have one major floor left. That floor is going to take a minute. It's the one with zero gravity, but the proof of concept of how that mechanic works has already been done. But I'll probably be moving a couple things around, right, in order to make the scenario make a lot more sense. What else is left? The sort of banter system is missing. Story beats need to be implemented, a little intro sequence, and also just general implementation of some of the later skills, some of the later enemies, signage, tutorialization. So there's still a lot remaining. And also I want to try that like classless versus class thing, and I know that's going to take me sort of a full month. So my hope is that I can finish up the demo content-wise by about February, and then March is the month that I do the decision between class versus classless, and then once that's done, do another round of playtests, refine it as much as possible, and then put it out on itch for free, and see if people like what's there. And if they do, cool, then I'll start making the arrangements to work on Act 1 of the game. And if they don't, well, I spent like 26 to 30 weeks working on a prototype. I learned a lot along the way, so I think I'll take that as a win. Cool, in that case, take care. We'll be back next month. The videos are going to be monthly now, but if you want to follow weekly progress, I'll still be posting to my P-Sky. And then once the demo's out, Gatecrashers will get its own account and stuff, right? And that'll be fun, I guess. Anyway, see you guys in a bit. Happy holidays. Ciao.